We're inching closer and closer to the return of NBA basketball, and with training camps about to kick off, the anticipation is starting to boil over, especially if you're a Celtics fan. After months of off-season debates, trade rumors, podcast hot takes, and overanalyzing every single social media post from NBA players, we're finally approaching the point where the talk stops and the basketball starts. And trust me, it couldn't come soon enough. Because at this point, people are losing their minds over off-season content. Just this past weekend, Iman Shumpert went viral for some of the wildest takes we've heard in a while. The former Cavs guard, who played a minor role on that championship team alongside LeBron, claimed that his best basketball days actually came when he was in Sacramento with the Kings. According to him, that was when he was allowed to cook. And look, no shade to Shump, but the numbers don't exactly back that up. He averaged around 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists during his time in Sacramento. Not exactly prime Jordan. But hey, it's the off-season. People say stuff. Now, let's get into some actual updates that matter. Because even though it's not game action yet, the moves and injuries that are happening right now are already shaping the early season picture in the Eastern Conference. The first big one? Tyler Herro. The Miami Heat guard is expected to miss significant time due to a foot injury, reportedly sidelining him until late November. And get this, there's a rumor floating around that he might have gotten hurt during a paintball match. Not confirmed, but very on-brand for the kind of chaotic energy that surrounds Herro. The man even posted a post-surgery photo, flipping the bird with a caption about tearing the league up once he's back. Jokes aside, this is a major blow to Miami. We're talking about a team that was already projected to be fighting for a spot in that 6-9 range in the East. With Herro out, that whole middle tier of the conference just got a bit more fluid, and that's where the Celtics can start to make some noise. Because when you look at that Miami roster without Herro, it's not scary. Bam Adebayo is still there, and yes, he's a consistent Defensive Player of the Year candidate and borderline all-star, but the offensive inconsistency has always been a concern. If Bam is your best scoring option every night, you're probably going to have a lot of low-scoring losses. And then there's the mystery surrounding Jimmy Butler. With his future unclear and trade rumors swirling, it feels like the Heat are trying to hang on to relevancy with duct tape. Andrew Wiggins is on that roster now, but his name's been tossed around in trade talks too, most notably with the Lakers. But let's be real. If you've ever played a pickup game in LA, a Lakers fan has probably tweeted that you're being considered for the roster. That fan base treats trade rumors like they're playing My GM mode in 2K. Outside of those bigger names, the Heat are relying on a lot of question marks. Guys like Norman Powell, who came over in the Clippers trade, and young pieces like Devon Mitchell, who had moments last year, but is far from proven. There's also Kel-El, where a big man with all the tools, but still super raw and inconsistent, and the coaching staff has reportedly been frustrated with his development. Then you've got Nikola Jovic, who missed much of last season due to injury, and Jamie Jaquez Jr., who's surrounded by some truly wild rumors if you dare to look them up. The rest of the bench is filled with unproven names or guys still trying to find their role in the league. So with Miami likely to stumble out of the gate, this opens the door a bit more for the Celtics to slide up the standings. Boston, a team that's often been stuck hovering around the middle of the East in recent years, now has a chance to punch above expectations. Because honestly, when you look at that second tier in the East, it's wide open. Sure, the Knicks and Cavs have legitimate rosters and continuity, and they're probably the safest bets outside of Milwaukee and Philly. But after that, it's a toss-up. Orlando is rising. Atlanta has talent, but no real identity, and Detroit is still figuring things out. None of them are so clearly ahead of Boston that we can say the Celtics are out of the picture. Now, speaking of Philly, let's talk about Joel Embiid, or should we say Skinny Embiid? That's right. The reigning MVP is reportedly coming into the season in the best shape of his life. He's been talking about changing his body, changing his approach, and treating this season differently. But here's the thing. Why now? Embiid is 31 years old. Why is this the first time we're hearing about him being in elite shape? Every single year we get the same story. You won't believe what kind of shape this guy is in. And honestly, I'm starting to question why we celebrate this stuff so much. These are professional athletes. Being in shape is supposed to be the bare minimum, not a revelation. You have access to private chefs, personal trainers, the best doctors, and every piece of recovery tech known to man. The fact that it's a headline when someone shows up in peak condition is kind of wild. Imagine if someone made a huge announcement that a pilot learned how to fly or a surgeon finally figured out how to hold a scalpel correctly. That's the energy we're dealing with here. Still, if skinny Embiid leads to healthy Embiid, that changes a lot for the Sixers. Because when he's on the floor, he's a game wrecker. The question is just how often he'll actually be on it. Right now, their roster looks like a big gamble. Tyrese Maxey is poised for a breakout, and honestly, I'll go ahead and say it. I think Maxey will be the best player on that team this season. Not because Embiid's going to fall off, but because Maxey is just ready to take that leap. And they're going to need him to. The rest of Philly's rotation is filled with variables. Paul George might be there, but his health is always in question. Jared McCain, who was blowing up on TikTok and in early runs last year, is coming off injury. VJ Edgecombe looks like a stud, but he's a rookie, and we never know how that translates. And behind that, Kelly Oubre Jr., Andre Drummond, maybe some random nights of production from Nick Batum or whoever they plug in off the bench. It's a team that could finish anywhere from the 3 seed to the 9 seed, depending on health and chemistry. So again, with Miami banged up and Philly rolling the dice, this is the window for Boston to strike. They've got continuity. They've got a core that knows how to play together. Yes, there are some new pieces and the rotation isn't set in stone, but the infrastructure is strong. There's a floor here that a lot of teams in the East don't have. While everyone else is hoping their off-season gamble pays off, the Celtics are walking into this season with a clearer identity and maybe a little bit of that underdog chip on their shoulder. And let's not forget, Jaylen Brown looks locked in. The man is streaming, calling teammates live, and carrying that kind of focused, unbothered energy that usually precedes a big year. If he stays healthy and the team doesn't fall apart early, I genuinely believe we're looking at second-team All-NBA minimum. A top 10 player campaign is not out of the question. We're talking 27 points, 7 boards, 7 assists, across the board improvement from a guy that still has another level in him. And while we're talking about that stability, we've got to dive into the actual makeup of this Celtics roster. Because when people look at Boston right now, there's a bit of skepticism, and sure, some of it is warranted. The roster isn't flashy from top to bottom, and it's definitely not loaded with superstar names beyond Jaylen Brown. But if you take a closer look at the structure, the depth, and the chemistry already in place, it becomes clear that this team is built to be more than just a fringe playoff squad. There's a real foundation here that could lead to something far more serious than most people are expecting. Let's start in the backcourt. Anthony Simons, Peyton Pritchard, and Derek White make up a trio that's way more dangerous than people give it credit for. Simons brings that explosive scoring ability, the type of guy who can take over quarters when needed, especially against weaker defensive rotations. He's never been afraid to shoot, and with more responsibility in Boston, this could be a season where he becomes a more complete offensive threat. Derek White, on the other hand, might be one of the most underappreciated guards in the league. His perimeter defense is elite, his basketball IQ is off the charts, and he just knows how to play within a system. He's the guy that makes the extra pass, locks down the opposing point guard, and doesn't need to drop 30 to impact a game. That's the kind of player every playoff team needs. And Pritchard, he's the spark plug. That dude just brings energy. He's scrappy, he's confident, and he's not afraid of the moment. Then you've got Baylor Shyman and Hugo Gonzalez filling in those swingman minutes. 2 guys who are still figuring out their roles, but could end up being crucial rotation pieces by the time we hit January. Jaylen Brown obviously anchors the wing, but this is where things get a little thinner. Behind him, there's Sam Hauser, Jordan Walsh, Josh Minott, and Chris Boucher. None of them are guaranteed contributors, but the upside is real. Walsh is raw, yes, but the defensive instincts are there. He's one of those guys who just needs minutes. The game needs to slow down for him. And once it does, he could be a difference maker on that second unit. Now, the big men rotation is probably the most polarizing part of this roster. You got a trio of Namias Quetta, Luka Garza, and Xavier Tillman. None of them are what you'd call franchise centers, but together, they bring a lot of versatility. Quetta's rim protection, Garza's inside touch, and Tillman's physicality give you different looks to throw at different matchups. And if even 2 out of those 3 can become consistent, that's all the Celtics really need. They're not asking for all-star numbers in the paint. They're asking for stability, toughness, and a presence on the boards. What really stands out about this Boston group isn't just the individual talent, it's the cohesion. A lot of these players have been in the system long enough to understand their roles, and even the new additions seem to be the type of guys who can slot in without disrupting the chemistry. That kind of continuity can't be overstated. In a league where rosters get turned over every 6 months, having a core group that knows each other's tendencies is huge. It's why teams like Denver and Milwaukee have been able to maintain consistency even when key players miss time. Now, when you start comparing the Celtics team to others in the East, you can see the cracks forming in some of the so-called contenders. The Cavaliers, for instance, are already dealing with injuries. Ty Jerome's gone, Darius Garland is set to miss time, and Max Strus could be out for a large chunk of the season. All of a sudden, that deep guard rotation isn't so deep. The Knicks, who were riding high after last season, are now adjusting to a new coach and have their own chemistry concerns. They've added some pieces, sure, but we don't know how that's all going to mesh once the games actually start counting. Orlando has become a trendy pick for some people, but that team still hasn't proven anything. They've made the playoffs, yes, but they haven't won a series yet. Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are both ascending stars, but we're still watching them go through their first reps of meaningful basketball. And that matters. Talent alone doesn't win playoff games. Experience does. And Orlando just doesn't have that yet. Even if they figure out the Wendell Carter Jr. situation or finally get the best out of Desmond Bane, it's still a team that needs to prove it can take a leap when it matters most. Atlanta is another question mark. They're loaded with offensive firepower, but can they stay healthy? And more importantly, can they defend? They're leaning heavily on Kristaps Porzingis to be the anchor down low, and that comes with its own risks. Porzingis is one of the most injury-prone players in the league. When he's healthy, he's a unicorn. But history has shown that relying on him to stay healthy for 82 games is a gamble. And Trae Young, as electric as he is, still hasn't shown he can consistently lead a winning team without serious defensive liabilities. Then you've got Detroit, a team that's still rebuilding even as they're trying to convince people they're ready to compete. They lost Malik Beasley, added Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert, and are hoping guys like Jaden Ivey take a leap. It's possible, but again, unproven. Meanwhile, Boston is right there, steady, grounded, waiting to see which of these teams stumbles out of the gate so they can quietly move up the standings. If you're betting on upside, maybe some of those other squads look more enticing. But if you're betting on infrastructure, familiarity, and a core that has playoff experience, Boston is the one to watch. They're not loud, they're not flashy, but they are ready. And with Jaylen Brown potentially on the verge of his most dominant season yet, the Celtics have a shot at not just making noise, but actually making a run. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the basketball world, whispers are now turning into a roar. Kevin Durant, one of the game's most prolific scorers, is reportedly set to sign a 4-year deal with the Boston Celtics. While nothing has been officially confirmed, sources close to the situation suggest that negotiations have been ongoing behind closed doors for weeks, fueling speculation that the NBA landscape is about to undergo a seismic shift. Durant, a 2-time NBA champion and former league MVP, has long been a subject of trade rumors and free agency buzz, but few could have predicted a destination in Boston, a city known for its storied history and diehard fan base. The Celtics, who have been quietly building a roster with championship aspirations, would instantly transform into a super team capable of challenging the top contenders in the Eastern Conference. Fans and analysts alike are debating how Durant would fit alongside Boston's existing core, with his scoring ability and versatility seen as a perfect complement to their championship-driven roster. Social media is ablaze with reactions. Some fans are ecstatic at the prospect of seeing one of the greatest scorers of his generation don the iconic green and white jersey, while others are skeptical, questioning whether Durant's injury history could impact his long-term performance. NBA insiders note that Durant's move could trigger a ripple effect across the league, influencing other star players' decisions and potentially reshaping trade strategies before the new season. While the Celtics organization has remained tight-lipped, the buzz alone has already increased ticket sales and merchandise speculation. Sports bars and online forums are brimming with debate, imagining matchups that were previously the stuff of daydreams. Could this be the start of a new Celtics dynasty, or is it merely a high-profile gamble? Only time will tell, but for now, the rumor of Kevin Durant in Boston has captured the imagination of basketball fans nationwide, igniting discussions that may not die down anytime soon. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.